Hey, and welcome to How to Beat Depression, and today I want to talk to you about what you put into your body. I don't really mean food, because I feel like there are other things we need to address first before we kind of like start thinking about diet. And don't worry, when we do talk about that, it's not going to be all about like, hey, just eat some broccoli, because that's just unrealistic. And frankly, everyone needs cake in their life at some point, otherwise that is just too obscene. I want to talk about what you put into your brain effectively. Now, one of the biggest problems with depression is that you are inherently very negative and you've already got a lot of quite nasty things going on in your head already. And a lot of this can be exacerbated by what else you put into your mind. Now, it's really difficult today to ignore different types of information. I mean, I often feel incredibly overwhelmed by life, and even just overwhelmed by information. There's so much noise, there's so many people saying things to me all the time, and I don't mean actually saying things to me, although obviously they do, but I just mean in, you know, I get on my phone or I listen to the news and there's studies and reports and people saying something and then something else is happening and just things going on and Twitter and like it's just so much noise. And part of what I've been asking you to do is to sort of almost be quiet a little bit and just listen to what your inner voice and what your inner head is saying to you so you can make changes. And having all this outside influence of all this noise, of all these other opinions and thoughts and stuff just bombarding you, it's not going to help. It's really not going to help. You need to be able to hear yourself and to know what's kind of going on in your head. I talked a little bit before about being distracted and how distraction was a really, really good tool. And one of the things that isn't a great version of distraction is going on your phone and going on social media. In fact, when I think more recently about moments where I've started to feel really shit about myself, it's now less about what I say to myself and it's more about what I see on social media. These are now kind of my triggers more than what I say in my head. Here's the thing, right? Fundamentally, as humans, like I guess when you go originally back to how we were supposed to be, you would only really hang out or kind of see the lives of your close family and friends. You wouldn't ever really see, you know, the Kardashians' house and life and whatever. You would never see that because they would be somewhere else, you know. And one of the things that happened with the advent of TV and a TV coming into everybody's home is that now you can see into everybody's life. And the problem is with seeing everybody's life all the time is that you can only naturally compare your life to their life and say like, well, they've got this and I don't. And naturally then you think like, well, why don't I have that? I should have that. Should, that word should again, worst word ever. And you naturally just start comparing yourself to others and you can't bloody help it. You can't stop it. You can't do it. It's so quick. And there's almost like a difference between sort of controlling a thought in your head, which almost is said in a way, and so there's a pace and a time to it. Whereas with all of these other things, you're so bombarded constantly. I mean, you flick through Instagram, you're taking in all of these images all at once, and you can't even counteract that because you've just seen 20 images where your life looks really, really rubbish in comparison to these people. And I started feeling after a while that, you know, for my job, I have to be on social media. That's something I have to do. And I started getting to the point where I was feeling really low about myself. And again, oh, why aren't I here? I should be doing better. I should be doing this again. And I had to sort of implement some rules into my life about how I use social media because, oh my God, it really started triggering my depression in a very, very serious way. And because it's relentless, you're on there all day, you can't help it. It's like picking a scab, like you know you don't want to look at it, but you're just gonna do it anyway, right? You know it's no good for you. the first thing I started doing was I banned myself from using my phone before about like 11 o'clock in the morning, because when you just wake up, oh God, never look at your phone when you first wake up. It's a terrible idea, because you're not mentally prepared for what you're about to see. And you need to take a lot of it with a pinch of salt, because it isn't really real. Let's be honest, it's not reality. And even if it is reality, someone can take a great bloody photo but be chronically depressed or having a terrible time the rest of the time. It's not really real. You're not really mentally prepared for it when you first wake up. You need to feel solid and strong before you can kind of take these things on board. So I basically ban myself between certain hours of going on social media. And that sounds really weird, but it's really quite a good strategy anyway. Even if you're not feeling really, really low, there's nothing that good that can come out of it, you know? You're only kind of setting yourself up to feel kind of bad. And especially with having depression, again, you've got to be really, really careful about what you put into your mind, because all of these things can trigger stuff. So I banned myself from using it during the day. Like if I had to do stuff for work, I'll be like, right, I'll post up a picture, but I won't allow myself to look at the response. You know, just do it. I want to put a picture up. I'm not going to see how well it engages. I'm not going to look at it. I'm just going to put it up because that's something I want to say or something I want to do, and then I can leave it alone. So if you have to use social media, that's one way of doing it. And then maybe at the end of the month, I'll like go through and I'll be like, well, that did quite well, or that did da-da-da. But like at a time that suits me, I'll sit down, I'll go through it, I'll see what works or what doesn't. Maybe it's every week, I don't know. But it's not that relentless and incessant flicking through, because it takes you away from your reality and you can only ever feel terrible about your lot. And the thing is, something I have to explain to a lot of people about depression. You know, depression isn't usually stemmed from there being a problem, you know, it's an illness. It's not because I'm poor, although I'm sure it could exacerbate a situation, but you know, there's not a reason why you feel that way. You just feel shit, like regardless, you know. And you just do not need to be making it any more difficult for yourself. So try this for a little bit of homework. Go off social media for 24 hours. I mean, that's your homework. Go off social media for 24 hours. You can do that. You can manage 24 hours of not engaging with any of this crap, not going on Facebook and Twitter, blah, 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 blah. Go off it, just cold turkey, just for 24 hours, right? Now, while you're doing this, right, it's only 24 hours, it's not the end of the world, you're not going to miss anything big. Watch the news if you still feel like you need to keep abreast of what's going on. Just 24 hours, that's all I'm asking. Make a mental note of how you feel during that day compared to how you normally feel. I'll put money on the fact that you feel a bit better than you normally do, and almost a bit more normal, a bit more free, a bit more like you. Honestly, 24 hours, it's not too long, nothing tragic is gonna happen. Just go off it for 24 hours and just make a note of how you feel. Obviously there's gonna be a point where you're gonna have to go back on social media. I'm not advocating that you should just go off it completely, because it's just unrealistic. When you can see how it affects you and how it affects your moods, it's a little bit like when I was asking you to keep in check what you're saying to yourself and the language that you're using. When you start to feel a little bit terrible, think back. I can link it to particular pictures that I've seen sometimes on Instagram, things that trigger me off. I got to the point where, also, you know how you have those friends? Well, I say friends. You have people whose feed you can't help but look at, but actually the mere fact you're looking at it just makes you really annoyed. There's something about them, you can't put your finger on it, you don't really hate them, it just, they're just so annoying and you can't explain. Mute them, just mute them. Life is too short to wind yourself up, and you do not need this stuff in your head. I went through a phase the other day where I was feeling a little bit low. I was having to do some social stuff for work, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to turn a couple of people off, because I don't need that in my day. Like I want to interact with social media because I have things to do and there's stuff I need to do. But seeing their posts pop up just antagonizes me. There's something about it, I don't know what it is, it just doesn't make me feel good. And you know what? I'm just gonna mute them. I'm not gonna block them because I know that there'll be a point where I'll be strong enough and happy enough with what I'm doing where I can undo that. And you don't want it to be like, oh, a friend unfriend, and you look completely psychotic. Just mute them. They're not gonna know that you've muted them. Try and just keep your social media as kind of clean and positive for you as possible, because all of these little things that you put into your head play on your mind. And especially as you're going through this process, you're going to have to kind of come to terms with a lot of different things. Make it easy on yourself and just fill your feed up with things that make you feel good, that make you feel positive. And like, yeah, okay, everyone laughs when you see these like stupid Instagram posts with like, you know, flowery sentiments written and whatever. And you know what? Yeah, it is a bit naff, but I tell you what, it makes me feel better to read them. It makes my day better, it makes me happier. And you know what? Making myself happier is the #1 priority. This is what I need. I want to look at beautiful pictures of beaches or like positive stuff, great photography or great art or something that can inspire me. And I was looking through all these different images on like these blog sites and stuff like that, and I was like really inspired. Like I looked through all this stuff, you know, just like WordPress blogs with like cool pictures. I was looking through all these images and I was like, I felt really inspired and excited about life. And I was looking through loads and loads of photos and loads of these images. And I came away from looking in these places on these blogs and I thought, oh wow, like I feel really good after looking at all of this. That doesn't normally happen. Normally when I look through Instagram, I feel terrible afterwards. And I know you feel the same way because it's just such bollocks. It's not reality, it's not, you know? And we need to be really careful about keeping our perception of what's real and what isn't as true as it can be, you know? We really, really need to keep ourselves on the straight and narrow as possible and not warp it with stuff that's basically factually incorrect. Maybe go through Instagram and just don't, I mean, you could unfollow like certain accounts or you could mute them. Maybe go through and think like what images and what things make me really happy and fill your feed up with that. Find blogs and sites that really inspire you in some way and spend your time looking at that. There's a really, really great app called Flipboard where you can create magazines of content that really interests you. And I do it in the mornings. I'll wake up and I have stuff that's kind of work related or stuff that kind of inspires me, stuff that's about exercise or I don't know, just different things that I'm interested, positive things. And I've made all these different magazines and in the morning I'll look through their kind of like top picks and I'll add stuff to the different magazines or I'll reread things. And it makes me feel good. It makes me start my day in a positive way because I've fed my brain something inspirational and something that's going to make me feel better and make me want to engage with life and remember that there is good stuff out there, that there are beautiful things out there. Not shut yourself away because you're not good enough because of some bullshit Photoshop picture on bloody Instagram. You know, Instagram is enough. And don't get me wrong, I love it. I love looking at photography. I'm really passionate about it. But some of the stuff I follow on there, I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? I'm just making myself miserable. You know, we've got so much kind of going against us. And any person, even without depression, looks through Instagram and doesn't feel fantastic depending on what accounts they're following. Don't make this harder on yourself. Fill the world around you. Like, that's like, you know, people you follow on Twitter, or if there's friends that you have on Facebook who upset you or antagonize you, just clear the decks. Get rid of all the negative stuff. Maybe spend a day going through these images or looking at these social media sites and seeing what makes you feel crap and just block, mute, unfriend. Do whatever you have to do to keep yourself in a place where you feel positive as much as possible. There are so many good things out there about life. There are so many people doing wonderful things that are going to make you feel excited to engage with life. Follow them. Find them. Find those people who are going to make you want to be part of life and engage with it again. So that's your homework. First of all, I want you to do a 24-hour social media blackout. Get off it. Nothing, right? And I want you to see how you feel after 24 hours. I want you to understand the influence these things are having on your life. The next step is to then go through your social media feeds and just mute and get rid of anything that makes you feel unworthy or bad, or just triggers something within you that makes you feel a bit shitty. Get rid of it, mute it, block it, whatever you do. Clear the decks, right? You don't need any of that information in your head at all. And then if you want to take it a step further, download Flipboard, have a look, create some really cool magazines of awesome articles of things that you're fascinated in, or things that you'd love to do, like, I don't know, you'd love to take up photography or bloody, I don't know, go-karting, whatever it is that you want to do. Find some things that make you feel excited about life as opposed to overwhelmed or, you know, make you feel terrible inside. Find some positive things and surround yourself with that, you know, so if you do have to go on social media, you come away from it feeling energized and inspired, not dejected and broken. And we're all guilty of it. I know I am. I still have to keep it in check regularly, but try these things out. Honestly, I know it's going to start making you feel a lot better. So that's your homework for this week. I hope you're still exercising. Try maybe take things to the next level if you can, and add in maybe like an extra half an hour or an extra 15 minutes or an extra hour or an extra 2 days of exercise. Take it to the next level. Ask yourself what's the best you can do now that you've kind of got into a little bit of a routine of doing it, and do it. Exercise is great, you just need to keep building on it and building on it. I don't want you to go completely psychotic and be training all the hours of the day. Just enough where you're doing a little bit every day, or at least kind of, you know, 3, 4, 5 days out of the week where you want to do it. You found something that you enjoy doing exercise wise, and it's now going to become part of your life. And you should be hopefully feeling a lot better by now. And just stick at it. You're going to start to be feeling all the benefits of this now. So do kind of let me know how you're going in the comments below.